Good morning, and thank you for being early. We're going to start at about 5 minutes after, so since you're here early, go ahead and say hello in the chat, please. And I will take roll as you do. So good morning, Christian. Good morning, Miley, and good morning, Jocelyn. Oops. Once again, thank you for being early. I really appreciate it. I was actually out of the room for a minute when two of y'all came in, so. But you're here now, so we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. If you want to go grab something to drink, something to munch on, you have time. Oh, there he is. Nope, that's somebody else. So keep in mind that these sessions are recorded, and I'll try to get them uploaded later on this afternoon after or during my office hours. So good morning, Tracy. And hopefully Octavio will jump back in. Good morning, Miley and Christian and Jocelyn. I'm going to share my screen. So that we can go here. I've uploaded the Google Slides that I'm going to be covering to today's assignment. So you can review this later if need be. Here's the daily doodle. One thing I forgot to mention on the video, if you've seen it already, is the penny is there to show the relative size of the drawing. So remember further down, I showed you how to fold up your paper in a previous video from yesterday. And so we're going to be drawing on those 1/16 of the paper. So I'll go ahead and start the presentation. And present. So today is the 15th. And there's Octavio again. Welcome back, Octavio. So you'll notice this is my index. This is from, oops, I got the wrong date on there. Let me fix that real quick. This is from 9/14 to 9/18. So what I did was I copied and pasted the previous presentation and just updated it, but I forgot to update that. So any of these purple links that you see will link to that day and enable me to discuss what goes on or what has gone on. So you can go back and see what we talked about yesterday, and I added something this morning that I'll show you in just a moment. So daily procedures, please make sure to always say hello in the chat. You'll probably still continue to hear me say it at the beginning of every class period. Oops, just trying to stop the music here. Sorry, I had some background music playing. So always say hello in the chat. That's how I take attendance. I also try to take it as you come in. So when you hear me say hello in the morning, I'm checking you off my list. So there will always be a daily doodle from now until summertime and even beyond if you decide to continue to do the daily doodles and upload them to your website. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to add definitions. So somewhere on the back of your daily doodle page, or if you're keeping a notebook, I'm going to start adding definitions, and we're going to define them as we go. So for instance, the first definition is going to be line. And the way I define a line is and for some reason my microphone's freaking out, is a point in space or on a surface that leaves a trail as it's dragged or as it's moved. And the reason I define it like that is because when you're doing something digitally, there's no surface. There's no, it's all digital. It's all in the ether, or it's all in the cloud, or on the computer. But there's no physicality to it. So if you think about a line traveling through space and leaving a mark, it could be the same thing as a line traveling across a surface and leaving a mark. So, photograph. I would like you to start photographing everything you do. So, for instance, in the daily doodle this morning, you'll notice at a point I had the construction aspect of the character. So I didn't take a picture of it, but I'll start doing that so that you can see what the process is, and I'll record it on my cell phone and also on my document camera, because I bought one of those red document cameras that you may have seen in some of the classrooms. I bought one last summer so I could do this stuff at home. So I want you to photograph each step of the process. So when you're doing the daily doodle, I would like you to draw very lightly the construction lines. The construction lines are those shapes, the circles, the squares, the triangles, etc. And then you can start rounding them off the way I do in my drawings. After you get the basic skeleton or the basic structure done, take a photograph of it with your cell phone or with your iPad or with your netbook, whatever Chromebook you have. Take a photo of it, and then when you're finished with the drawings, you're going to upload each one of these steps to your Google Drive. And again, I'm going to describe that in a video this afternoon, which I'll post on Google Classroom for tomorrow. So as you continue, I just want you to document, and you're going to document it with your phone or your laptop or whatever. And then we're going to put those into a slideshow, which we're then going to embed in our Google site. And again, I'll be teaching that process as we go. But the first part of that process is photograph it, upload it to your Google Drive. Then this should actually say add a slideshow called Daily Doodle to your Google site. So on your Google site, there's going to be a web page called Daily Doodle. And inside that, there's going to be a slideshow also called Daily Doodle. And I'll show you again examples of that as we go. Tomorrow, I'm going to go into a little more detail on the Google Drive hierarchy. The word hierarchy is a term that means there are levels and greater levels and lesser levels. So the best example of a hierarchy is a file cabinet or your dresser drawer, if you keep different things in each dresser drawer. So if you think of a file cabinet, the cabinet in itself is your computer. Each one of the drawers could be a different class, so math class, English class, etc. Inside that class, there are projects and or assignments. So for us, that would be a folder inside the file cabinet, and then inside the folder would be all of your documentation, your sketches, your photographs, and all of that stuff. And so that's what a hierarchy looks like on your Google Drive, or will look like on your Google Drive. Okay, so back to this page. I just took it off presentation for a moment. So I'm going to present this again because I want to show you this as well. I did this during class last period, but I'm going to tap the forward slide, the forward button. This is the same video that's on Google Classroom. So here's the really cool thing from my perspective of having a Google site. When you have a Google site with a Google slideshow embedded in your site, you can then start adding things like YouTube videos. So for instance, let me escape out of here and show you how that works. I'm going to go to up here and create another tab. I'm going to type in sites. Notice again how it always finishes my sentence for me because I've been to this site before. I'm going to click here to my Trojan Art website. And this is my class website. If you ever have any questions about things that we've done, this information is always going to be in here. So I'm actually going to replace the same information that's on your Google Classroom is also on your in Google Classroom, also on my Google site. So I'm going to see if it's going to let me isolate this and allow me to change this. Okay, so it's not going to let me change this, so I'm just going to delete this. Whoops. Except it deleted too much, so I had to hit the Control-Z button. And it didn't undo. Okay, so I'm just going to move this one down below here for now. Notice the computer's having a little bit of tough time figuring this out. Then I'm going to move this down also. I'm just clicking and dragging. There's a little handlebar. See these little dots right here? That's a handlebar that allows you to move things around on the page. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to add slides right here. And since I've just created this morning, or updated this morning, I'm going to select this one that says September 14th to the 18th and double click it. This is today's slideshow, and here's the best part of this process. Just going to move this stuff around because I want this up here. Obviously, there are things that are attached to each other, so it's having a little bit of difficulty figuring things out. But I'm just moving these things around so that they'll stack when I update this. So I'm going to publish this. After it's done publishing, publish it here. Always click the button at the bottom to view it. So this presentation that I created this morning, or duplicated this morning, actually it should be up here, so I'm going to move it up here later. Whenever you see a slide presentation on a Google site, you can click this button right here and go full screen. So I'm actually presenting this from my Google site. And the cool thing about it is on today's date, or today's date on this video can be played full screen also. If you start playing it, click this button here, and it went full screen. So if you can get your head around this, the cool thing about this from my perspective, from a developer's perspective, and also from a perspective of a student turning in your classwork, if you want to at some point create videos, you can or cannot, whatever you want to do with it is fine. I will walk you through the process of doing it, but it's actually very simple to do. So this is a video that I posted on YouTube this morning. I'm going to tap the escape key on my keyboard. This is embedded in my website. So it's a slideshow embedded in a website. And I'm going to move this back up here because this is where I wanted it originally. Oh, nope, it's not going to let me do that. I'm going to have to rework that because I want that video to be, or that slideshow to be up here. Okay, so again, this is a slideshow on my web page, and there's a YouTube video inside of it. And I'll be showing you that process. So for the time being, for now, I just want you to focus on, let me escape out of here and stop sharing. I want you to focus on the daily drawings. Once again, please make sure, especially if you've come in late, please make sure to say hello and or goodbye in the chat. That's how I take my role. You will hear me say this every day as we have these Zoom meetings. More and more I'm going to be teaching by using the videos. Don't say goodbye and don't hang up yet, or don't log out yet, because I'm not done. When I'm finished talking, if you understand what I'm asking you to do, and you don't have any questions, you can log out as soon as I'm finished talking, and I'll tell you in just a minute when I'm finished talking. All of the information you need is on Google Classroom. If it's not on Google Classroom, it's also on my website, which is trojanart.com. One word, trojanart.com. If you have any questions, please communicate it either through asking a question in the chat or unmuting your microphone and asking a question. You can also send me a voice message or a text message to my Google Voice, which is 619-732-6288, and that should be available at school, and also it's at the bottom of my webpage. Let me share this one more time so you can see that. So I'm going to actually go back to here. At the very bottom of my webpage, that phone number is here, 732-6288. So those are various ways you can communicate to me. If you ever miss class for whatever reason, all of the information is on Google Classroom and also on my webpage. So please communicate with me. As long as you're communicating with me, I will not mark you absent. So any of those days where you've been marked absent from other classes in the past, just try to communicate with your teachers and let us know what's going on, whether you're having technical difficulties, whether you're taking a vacation or whatever. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I've had students do that in the past. So again, if you have no questions, now you may log off. I'm going to stop sharing. You can go ahead and log off as long as you've said hello and or goodbye in the chat room, and I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Oh, also one last thing. I also have office hours from 11 to 12. So if you have questions that aren't covered and you've logged off of this Zoom meeting, you can also log back into my office hours, which are available on Google Classroom. And now you can leave.